So my project is the Coldwater Solar Carport Pilot Project. And first, before I start my presentation, I would like to say my deepest gratitude to the team that I worked with, Erin Easy, Monica McCowan, who are my mentor, and also Professor Wolfgang Bauer, who is my technical advisor. Without them, my deliverables wouldn't be complete. And also, I would like to acknowledge the people that have helped shape my deliverables, whether it be their inputs, their experiences, or technical expertise. I hope that it is translated well within my deliverables. Speaking of deliverables, there are 3 deliverables. The first one is my main report. This would be a feasibility studies of the pilot project, and then the scalability studies of existing plazas that we would like to also assess. And while assessing those, we found a pattern, and we compiled it into a solar carport guide that is hopefully more transferable to other municipalities and institutions. And to accompany that, also an outreach material that Erin helped me to print out earlier. It was a last minute switch, but thank you so much. And I think you guys could, it is still a draft, but it would look somewhat like that. So, during my work, I interviewed and had a meeting with a couple of different municipalities and institutions. Across Michigan, we've seen a range of communities find creative ways to leverage solar, each working within their budget, constraint, and priorities. We see here, City of Detroit, they had a community solar arrays, and then we had City of Ann Arbor, they powered an emergency generator with solar through their Sesame Solar unit. When we have Scioto Township, they focus on offsetting energy use for critical 24 hours services like fire and police department. And lastly, it's MSU. They built what was at that time the largest solar carport installation in the world. And I'm actually very privileged also to be working with one of the person that led the project, which is my technical advisor, Professor Bohr. And this is also one of the key inspiration behind the Coldwater Solar Carport project we're going to be exploring today. As a small city with limited available land, Coldwater needs solutions that maximize existing spaces. So together, these examples shows that no matter the scale or the challenges, municipalities can find solar solutions that works for them. So before we go to Coldwater, a quick note on solar carport. I'm pretty sure all of you are aware what the solar carport are. Beyond clean energy, they shape cars, reduce heat, protect from weather, and set the stage for a beautiful structure later on, all while preserving space. But because they serve 2 roles, producing energy and functioning as a parking infrastructure, we have to evaluate them from both angles. That's why hopefully it could be translated well within the guide. This is the guide that I talked about. This is the visual of it. As you can see, there's section over it and then subsections on like steps, and then also options you can choose to. It's more like a menu, so you can navigate based on what fits your budget, fits sites, and also goals. And this is the framework that we've come up with. There are 4 sections. The first one is social considerations. We wanted so that people have a clear community fit and constraint, and they would know the project's vision and scope, so throughout the other considerations they could have that in mind. And then we have the technical, which is just evaluating site, solar resource potential, the key design choices like orientation, silt, and structure, which we'll highlight shortly. And then we have the economic considerations, which is very important, balancing upfront costs, financing options, and long-term return of investment to ensure the project is financially viable. And finally, we have the environmental impact, measuring how much carbon the system actually offset and how much homes that could actually power, and just the broader sustainability benefits that it actually brings. So building on that planning framework, I wanted to highlight several important steps because these steps often make or break solar carport project. The first one is the site and structural considerations. It's not just about finding a sunny parking lot. The site needs to be evaluated for things like whether anything nearby could block the sunlight over time, whether the ground can handle added structure, and whether the design can hold up to Michigan's heavier weather conditions. These factors make sure that carport performs well and stays reliable for a very long time. And also, The next one is the parking layout. Again, it's not just fitting panels above the lot. You need to make sure that the stall size works for different vehicles, that the aisle and turning spaces are wide enough, and that the parking angles make sense for both traffic and how the solar structure is built. Getting this right up front could really help later on, because especially if the lot is used for a mix of residents, staff, and larger vehicles. And then we have the most important part, I think, it's the solar panel configurations. Once the parking lot layout is set, the next step is making sure the system itself is optimized and captured as much sunlight as possible. That's where these factors sort of came in. This section focused on orientation and tilt, essentially which way the canopy actually faces and what angle. And the contrast here kind of emphasized how critical it is to align the structure with the sun, because even small shift can significantly impact annual energy output, especially in Michigan. We all know where sun angles change dramatically also by season. This part of the guide also highlights how the solar modeling software can help estimate production and check site-specific sunlight and test how different design performs. We also have linked later on in the attachment within the guide, like simpler formulas or just simpler calculators that you can assess. So you can just work with different types of source. So, is solar viable in cold water? Even though cold water in Michigan in general, it might not be the sunniest place in the United States, but this number shows that solar can actually perform really well here. It shows a study of profile, and cold water itself is a good profile to start for this kind of project. And this is the visual of it. So for the report itself, the cold water initially have two phases. The first one is the pilot project that would be an HLB parking lot. It's actually just right outside. You can take a peek. It's outside. And then in downtown, we have 4 other carport. And so my main report is solely going to focus more on the HLB parking lot. So that was where the in-depth research is going to be. And then after that, using the framework, I tried to assess like a higher level of the other 4 sites that are like available. So this is the technical stuff. For the cold water pilot project, our research focused on how the staff lot could realistically host a solar carport system. The lot itself is not that big, but it's pretty long, but we can expect 2 parking rows and 24 space, which give us room for system up to 50 to 100 kilowatt range, depending how the panels and structures are laid out. We also looked at parking dynamics, because again, it's not a big lot, but comparing it to like 30 degrees and 45 degrees angle parking for traffic flow because of the smaller width of the lot, and adding a turnaround loop so service vehicle and snow flows can move easily. And on the structural side, we compared 2 canopy types and modeled them with different PV system, PV system size, which the first one is 110.4 kilowatt system and also 119.6 kilowatt, to see how performance and design trade-off would play out in this. So I'm going to show you the first design that we came up. This one is a little more pretty. It looks like a butterfly. It's a dual pitch canopy. It uses south-north split head layout. The design is visually more balanced, and the load is expected to fall right in the middle, like snow load and then water load, and then the runoff would be directly directed to the green space at the turnaround right there. And this is also actually an idea that I saw from Scion Township, so shout out to them. They have planted Michigan wildflower on the green space, so that would be easier to maintain, and it acts as a patio strip. And for the second design, this is a monopitch canopy. We also modeled this with the same system, where all panels spaced out to maximize the annual solar generation. This orientation actually has the highest energy yield overall, as we expect, but result in, well, a single-sided tilt that is visually might not be as pleasing as the other one, but this one generates more. And this is a trade-off between steadier production and maximum annual output in their aesthetics, which is important to consider and will vary by municipalities and people depending on what their values are or their priority. For cold water, the decision was to prioritize annual energy yield, making south-facing monopitch canopy, which is this one, the preferred choice. As for the scalability, which is the second phase of the work, we evaluated this for lot. Each lot varies in size, infrastructure condition, and surrounding context. So we assessed how solar carport could be integrated. Some section can only accommodate east-west canopies, while other areas are allowing for south-facing north-south canopies for maximum generation. Several lots already feature green spaces, as you can see there, at the end of each parking rows or along the adjacent building, which naturally aid for stormwater management by directing or absorbing runoff, which reduces the need for additional drainage. And these sites also differ in readiness. Most have been recently renovated, while one lot, which is the Chandler Plaza right here, is it correct? Yes. Randall Plaza. And then right here, it's just right outside. Also, that one might not be that ready yet in terms of the infrastructure, because it now hasn't been upgraded and it includes existing infrastructure on top of the pavement, which needs significant preparatory work before the solar installation is actually done. And in total, there's the combined impact of all planned solar carport sites, as you can see for like the together Coldwater Phase 1 and Phase 2 solar carport project will add around 1.17 megawatt of solar capacity, producing about 1.74 million kilowatt hour annually. And as you can see there, it also, for this pilot project itself, it offset around 38% of the annual utility bills of this HLP building. And then this is using the EPA calculator for the Phase 1 and Phase 2, it could generally offset 188 homes' electricity use a year. And also, our most favorite part is the environmental impacts. So once we had a clear picture of the energy output, we wanted to translate that production into something more tangible. This shows what the energy actually means in real world terms, from the number of cars taken off the road, to gallons of gasoline avoided, and to how many homes. And it also captures the carbon benefit visually, like the equivalent of growing over here 2,000 tree seedling. And as you can see, yeah. That is all for my presentation. I hope by the end of this presentation you are convinced to build solar panels or solar carport.